Up next is Ron Sylvester, who's going to be talking about the changing face of the news. The Hutchinson News has published a newspaper here for 144 years. But nowadays, people are more likely to read it on their phone than by turning the pages of a paper. Managing editor Ron Sylvester talks about how technology is changing the way the news delivers information to readers and interacts with the community.
Thank you. So newspapers were really cutting-edge technology in the 15th century. Gutenberg Press came out about 1440, and by 1500, newspapers, they were like Facebook. Okay. As Patsy said, we just started our 145th year at the Hutchinson News, and it's changed a lot over the years, and every time a newspaper changes, people think, oh, something, is, something's wrong, or why is it changing so much? But our mission over those years doesn't change. We are still a reflection of what goes on in the community. When a community hurts, we hurts. When it has good news, we celebrate that. The big change is when you see that newspaper in the morning. That's really the end product of what a lot of people have been watching the previous day. Most people now are watching the stories as they develop, and this is how most people read us. Of about 130,000 people who read us in the month of June, 116,000 people read the Hutch News on some sort of mobile device like a phone. And so while we're not we don't have as many actual newspaper readers, our audience is growing. It's just more people are reading us on the phone. Even people who only get their news online, about 3 out of 4 people, according to this Pew survey that was done, that was released earlier this month, they're still getting their news from news organizations, and especially local news, such as the Hutchinson News. Now, but you got to be careful where you get your news online. This is what happens when you do a search for Hutchinson News on BuzzFeed and the Huffington Post. I didn't get a lot of really timely or relevant news when I did that. There's a lot of information out there on the internet, but a lot of stuff is linked to and it's curated. We are still one of the places that produce original content, and we try to get stuff that is relevant to you. Like when there's a big rain and it's going to flood, we want to explain how that how the streets are flooding, and as where I live, why the Cow Creek is running across my driveway. You can also get us on iTunes. Last year we started a podcast with Amy Bickle and Kathy Hanks for our Eggland podcast, and in a year we now have about 2,000 monthly listeners in 9 countries. Most of those people are in Kansas, but we have 200 people in Germany who really, really like us. Yeah, it kind of blows my mind. For example, when we want to cover stuff, we want to make sure things look good on the phone. The Kansas State Fair, for example, our page is set up so where you can walk around the fair with your phone, because very few people take their laptops to the fair. And so you can get the weather, and then we also have a map on there. So when you type in things like corn dogs, it drops pins, and you can tell how to get around the fairgrounds. So it's much more than just writing stories. We want to help you navigate the fair, but you can also put beer in there, which is what I do, and it does this. So then we watch the Indian on this. Okay, that's one of my favorite parts of our website. So we've created different things to reflect this community. This is our space site, which is sponsored by the Cosmosphere, and it's to call attention. By the way, the fair, the Cosmosphere, some of the stuff I'm going to show you, it's outside the paywall, so it's free to anybody who wants to discover Hutchinson. Hutchinson. And so, you know, every day we not only put news about the Cosmosphere, but about space in general. You know, when I moved here, it's like, you know, the logo, you know, the motto is share our space. Well, we celebrate that, and, you know, we give you the news every day. This is our Kansas quake site. It shakes when you look. You know, we want to do some fun things even with serious news. John Green had done some amazing reporting when earthquakes started happening about why they happen and how they happen, and so we didn't want that to go away just because it had appeared in the newspaper. We wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep it updated. This has a live map. Every time there's an earthquake, another pin drops on that map. You can sort it. It tells you the latest area earthquakes, and then below is John's great reporting on you know, what causes that. We also try to tell stories in different ways. Adam Stewart, instead of writing a story about what Girl Scout cookies sell, he created this, and this was not photoshopped. We actually stacked the cookies and took a picture of it and did it, you know, in mathematical proportions by counting the cookies. And we, you know, but we don't forget about the newspaper. You know, we don't forget about the print product, because a lot of people still like to hold it in their hand. And so, you know, but what we're doing differently is we're taking really complicated stories, and we're trying to tell them in a simple way. This was like this was about the state budget. It's a very complicated thing that all fit on the front page. You could get it as a glance. Also trying, you know, people saw this. This was all online too, but people saw this and said, you know, I've grown up in Kansas. I drive by those grain elevators all the time, and I have no idea what they did. But this is Jim Heck, another Jim Heck illustration that shows, you know, kind of what's inside there and how they work. And this year, we were named one of 10 newspapers that do it right. This is the cover of Editor and Publisher. It's a national magazine. So we got to be alongside, you know, the Baltimore Sun, Denver Post, things like that. You know, and in Little Hutchinson, we're doing things that's getting us national recognition. What we don't want to do is this. This was from 1922, and they had the news that the salt mine was going to be put in Hutchinson on page 9. The salt mine that is the Salt Hawks, Salt City, all that. That's on page 9, and we don't want to miss the big story. And so, you know, if there's a story that you want us to cover that you don't think we're covering, you know, we want to know your ideas. This is your newspaper, your news website too, and so here's my contact information. Let us know. Thank you.